All right, everybody. So we should be live now. This is fantastic. I am going to try to bring up the live chat. So if anybody wants to, anybody wants to get involved here, they can. I pop up the chat and have it still say, "Oh, I can." All right, that's handy. That's good to have. All right, so I've got that there. I just closed it a whole wackadoo of shit. All right. So anyway. This little stream here kind of came from a spin-off at the end of my last stream just a couple minutes ago. And that is all about carrying in Canada and could the First Amendment move north? So I've gotten this question a couple of times actually. I'm not kidding. Way back when I did all my was it SB 11, the Texas College Concealed Carry Bill, the campus carry bill. Did that people were like, well, are you allowed to do that in Canada? And da da da. And so I thought, well, you know what? It might be a neat little thing to look into the laws regarding being able to carry a firearm in Canada. And if you look down on the bottom, you'll find the link in the description to the Justice Laws website, official laws, law.justice.gc.ca/ENG/SOR-98-207/fulltext.html. And that is the Authorizations to Carry Restricted Firearms and Certain Handguns Regulations, Firearms Act. So I thought, well, I'll take a look at this thing, and while I'm at it, I might as well bring you all along for the ride. And if I'm going to, ooh, there's a PDF here as well. Oh, look at that. It's the Canadian Coat of Arms on the top of it as well. It's in like a left and right part with French and English because we're just so bloody bilingual. All right. Well, I think I'm going to stick to the original here because it seems to be just in English if I go to this page. And really, I'm sorry to anybody who's a francophone viewer of mine, but you can go get francofucked for right now because I can't read for shit when it's split into two columns. It's not about you. It's just about, it's all about me, I suppose. Selfish me. So, as we see here, SOR/98-207, the Firearms Act. I say where we can see here, but you guys can't see shit all. I've updated my OBS, so I'll see if it'll work now. But I don't know. Window capture. Let's go to authorizations to carry. Really hard to shoot out of mayonnaise tires. It reminds me of an old joke. It goes, what goes clop, 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 bang, clop, 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 clop. It's a Mennonite drive-by shooting. And unfortunately, for some fucking reason, it's not going to let me show. That's shitty. I'll have to work this out and ask OBS some questions. It's not going to let me show the fucking link. So as I can see here, and as you can follow along from the link down below, it says here the definitions in this section apply in these regulations. Act means the Firearms Act. Okay. Holster means a holster that can be worn on a belt or attached to a body. Attached to a body, it sounds odd. And that is equipped with a fastening device that can securely hold the firearm. Okay. Prohibited handgun. Should be a space right there, actually, between handgun and means, but whatever. Means a handgun under paragraph A of the definition of prohibited firearm in subsection 84, subsection 1 of the Criminal Code. Fair enough. So part 1. Let's figure out under what circumstances a Canadian would be allowed to carry a firearm. Okay. So for the purpose of part 1, circumstances in which an individual needs restricted firearms or prohibited handguns for the purpose of section 20 of the Act. Protection of life. For the purpose of section 20 of the Act, the circumstances in which an individual needs restricted firearms or prohibited handguns to protect the life of that individual or or of other individuals are where A, the life of that individual or other individuals is in imminent danger from one or more other individuals. B, Police protection is not sufficient in the circumstances. And C, the possession of a restricted firearm or prohibited handgun can reasonably be justified for protecting the individual or other individuals from death or grievous bodily harm. Okay. Lawful possession or occupation. For the purpose of Section 20 of the Act, the circumstances in which it is same thing, or where an individual needs restricted firearms or prohibited handguns for use in connection with his or her lawful profession or occupation are where A, the individual's principal activity is the handling, transportation, or protection of cash, negotiable instruments, or other goods of substantial value, and firearms are required for the purpose of protecting his or her life or the lives of other individuals in the course of that handling, transportation, or protection activity. The individual is working in a remote wilderness area, and firearms are required for the protection of the life of that individual or other individuals from wild animals. Or C, the individual is engaged in the occupation of trapping in a province that is licensed, and is licensed or authorized and trained as required by the laws of the province. Okay. Let's see here. Issuance. So getting the ability to do so. A chief firearms officer shall not issue to an individual an authorization to carry a particular restricted firearm or prohibited handgun that is needed in the circumstances described in Section 2 or Paragraph 3A unless the chief firearms officer determines that the individual has, this is A, the individual has successfully completed training in firearms proficiency in the use of force that is appropriate for using the firearm in those circumstances, and B, the firearm is appropriate in those circumstances. 4.1, for the purposes of subsection 67.1, the manner in which an authorization to carry is renewed, this is a renewal for the same manner in which it could be issued. So you got to meet the same criteria. Number of firearms. This is funny. I guess there's somebody who tried to pull this off one year with just like a pirate-style bandolier of multiple pistols. A chief firearms, number of firearms. An authorization to carry may authorize the possession of one or more restricted firearms or prohibited handguns. Okay, so you can still go, go Blackbeard on it with like 8 pistols strapped across your chest. A chief firearms officer who issues an authorization to carry shall attach to it the following conditions. Ooh, conditions. I don't like these conditions. If the individual is authorized to possess more than one, okay, the individual carrying not more than one of them at a time. That's unfortunate. I disagree with that. I think you should be able to carry at least 2. A primary and a backup would be responsible. B, that the restricted firearm or prohibited handgun be carried in a holster. I'm perfectly fine with that. If the individual needs it for the purpose of a lawful profession or occupation, the individual notify the chief firearm officer. If the individual ceases to be employed or engaged in the lawful possession or occupation of changes employers. And D, if the individual requires it for the purpose described in paragraph 3A, the individual wear a uniform. So that was the whole lawful profession or occupation. Okay. Yeah, bears give 0 fucks in most circumstances. And in any situation where somebody would argue whether or not an animal has a chance against a silverback gorilla, you should probably have a gun for it. What I find interesting here, and I'm just gonna throw this out to folks, okay? I'm not saying that this should be done, but I'm going to say that if you were to start up your own business, if you're just to claim that you are your own business, and have some reason for which you might have to carry cash on you at any given time, and if you were to then, I don't know, have somewhere in your business plan or business code of conduct that, let's say, I don't know, your uniform was simply something along the lines of being dressed in business appropriate casual, business casual clothing or what have you, that this could give you some serious authorizations here. Now, of course, the chief firearms officer, what's the name to look for here, probably wouldn't be with you on that one. They probably wouldn't call that a lawful profession or occupation because they don't define what a lawful profession or occupation is here. But that might be an option. Just saying. It's like $134 to register a business in Ontario, as far as I know. And then you could say, well, if you operate this business and you therefore have to carry a certain amount of cash on you, that you may be required to possess a firearm. And of course, as an entrepreneur, you're basically working for yourself 24/7. There's always that. You could claim that if you're in your own house, whether or not the government likes it at that point, that if you have assets worth defending and that police response wouldn't get to you in time, that you may have a reason to carry a firearm, possess and carry. But anyway, let's cover the reason as to why I'm asking these questions and why I'm asking them again. Why am I concerned as to whether or not a Canadian individual is allowed to carry a handgun or any other form of firearm on their person at any given time? Well, I know Kevin's heard the story. Yeah, a baseball bat with barbed wire may not cover it. I think honestly in that situation, I think they'd be a little. The government and the police would probably take more umbrage upon you carrying a baseball bat and barbed wire than a gun. I'm not gonna lie, they might have more of an issue with the fact because that's just blatantly offensive. Like that is an offensive weapon, tip to toe. Um, but Kevin knows this story. Kevin's here in the live chat, and I'm sorry, folks. I would have you on the screen. I just don't know why my OBS is being testy with me right now. I was involved in a school lockdown with the announcement of a gunman on my college campus a couple of years ago. This was back when I was at Durham College in Oshawa, and it was a little stressful, to not understate the point too much. It was quite stressful. A classmate of mine and I were sitting in the tech wing at Durham when we heard over the announcements, the kind of loudspeaker, PA system is the word I'm looking for. Heard over the PA that the school is going to lock down. Okay, well, what do we do? We're not in class. We run off down this hallway, grab a couple people from the hallway that we were in, and basically drag them into one of the back rooms. And so we're sitting in this back room. We've kind of barricaded doors on the way back there, and we've kind of shut ourselves in this little maintenance room. I don't know if it was supposed to be a boiler room or what, but it was dark, bunch of machinery. It was one of the tech halls, and I was a business management and entrepreneurship student. I didn't have a clue what they were doing with shit back there. What I did know is they had a whole bunch of toolkits back there with a couple of hammers, some heavy shit like that. And so what we had essentially was a semi-barricaded door and a fire exit, so we could make our way out that. Packing a bowl for this retelling. Yeah, Kevin, this story goes left then right. Kind of fun. So we've got ourselves stuck in this room. And we know that there's only one way into the room, and there's the option is the other way out. And so we thought we were pretty okay. If somebody comes in the hallway, who knows what, but we can get out this way. And it was myself, what was it? My buddy Shahir, and then I think it was like 4 others. There was one girl, and the rest were guys, if I'm not mistaken. And we all kind of made the decision that if because we had seen on Twitter and on the school's Facebook page and heard from other people, because we had our cell phones, of course, and we weren't listening to the whole, oh, don't use your cell phones during a lockdown, it could trigger an explosion, if they've rigged it to be to a certain cell phone number or whatever, all this other bullshit. Which is, hell, they're probably correct. I don't know how bombs fucking work. Magnets, how the fuck do they work? Anyway. So we're sitting there, and and we're all kind of stewing over it. Like, what do we do? Somebody comes down that doorway, that hallway at us. Do we try and fight them if they get into the room? Do we just run? And myself and Shahir, we grabbed these hammers from the toolkits that we found in the back, and we said, well, look, we'll hide here in the room, near the door. If the person tries to come in, we'll try and slow them down, do what we can, and you guys just need to get the hell out through the fire door. kind of the one-way exit, right? You can't pull it open from the outside, sort of thing. And that'll be the plan. Shahir and I both got some martial arts experience. The larger people of the group, so we figured, well, it's on us. We'll take this one. Fortunately, it didn't come to that, of course. But that lockdown, I don't know how long it lasted. It felt like forever. But let's just say it lasted an hour. 45 minutes to an hour that I spent thinking about how I felt in that situation once we knew that the lockdown was initiated because of reports of a student carrying a gun on campus. And you think to yourself, well, like, are they looking for me? Are they just looking to cause damage in general? Like, how can we expect to fight this person if they actually have a gun? It's very disconcerting. It's kind of humbling. Yeah, it means more surface to peg, but it also means, Kevin says, your larger body equals more surface to peg. But it also means that if you have to tackle somebody and hold them to the ground, that if you can get on top of them, you've got that much more weight holding them and stopping them from moving. A little more arm to swing a hammer with, kind of thing. But once you decide that, well, okay, there's somebody on the property, on the campus, that's a threat to students and threat to myself and others, and you accept the fact that within the group that you and someone else are going to take responsibility for maintaining a certain level of protection for that group, you then start to ask yourself, and you think, I'm sitting here in a fucking storage room, fucking utility room, with some scrounged up tools as a means of defending myself. And that you don't dwell on it too long, because it's not a great thought, but you have to realize that you are, for lack of a better term, entirely outgunned. You do not have an equivalent amount of force to direct back at the person that may try to attack you. You just don't. Now, fortunately, the lockdown ended with no one being hurt, including the person that the lockdown was triggered because of. And the gun that had been spotted was in the waistband of this student's jeans or pants. I shouldn't say jeans. I don't remember what the particular pants were. But it had been spotted in his waistband, and it was an airsoft pistol. It was a replica firearm. Which, honestly, he's very, very lucky he didn't get shot for. Because, well, you can't tell, and you can't take that chance, because a lot of those are built to 1-to-1 scale. You just don't know. You have no way of knowing if that's a real firearm or not until they pull the trigger. And so you think about it, and you go, well, under what circumstances would I feel comfortable defending the people who are here? The only circumstance under which I would have felt comfortable defending the people that I was there with would be if I was likewise armed. Because it is very true that gun-free zones, as they're called, are only respected by people who respect the law in the first place, and that people who wish to do damage will do damage no matter what. They will do their damnedest to hurt people, and if you put up a giant sign that says, look, all these law-abiding people that are here will be disarmed, then it's a lot easier for them to pick a target. Would he have been so lucky? Kevin, I don't think nothing would have changed today. Would he have not been shot by the police? Depends. If he acted the exact same way as he had that day, I see no reason why they shouldn't have shot him. Or why they wouldn't shoot him. I see no reason why they would shoot him, if he acted the same way. If he complied with police, demands and shit, then fine, don't shoot him. And I know the whole thing is that you shouldn't make big decisions off of single instances. That's one of the reasons I oppose Motion M103. It's big hullabaloo being done up because of one incident, grievous or otherwise. So, to be honest, folks, if you're Canadian and you're wondering whether or not you can find a way to legally carry a firearm, unless you work in the wilderness and you require it to defend yourself against, wild animals and shit, and and even in that case, you can only carry it during those times. If you are employed in a position that requires you to have a firearm, that means you're handling cash or other important, valuable items. And again, only in those times where you have those items on hand. And of course, if you believe your life to be in danger and can reasonably demonstrate that your life is at risk and that the local police force is going to be ill-equipped or unable to provide you the same level of defense that you can provide yourself, then you can't carry one in Canada. You're just SOL. Though I suppose that's one more reason that I could always run for office. I think I would want to look into changing that. And I think there's a way that it could be written that it wouldn't harm the majority of Canadians. The thing is, Kevin, I'm looking here at the reason to carry, not the reason to own. It's one thing to physically own a firearm, but it's another to be able, Kevin said here, or you are a collector. And I'm going to look up collector's permits for that. Canada collector permit firearms. Yeah, and see, he says, well, not to carry. That's the other thing. License requirements. So to acquire firearms other than antiques for collection, individuals must be at least 18 years old and have a possession and acquisition license, PAL, for the class or classes of firearms they are collecting. These three classes of firearms are non-restricted, ordinary rifles and shotguns, restricted and prohibited. To maintain legal possession of firearms, an individual must keep their license current by renewing it before it expires. Initial fee is $60 for non-restricted only, or $80 for any combination of non-restricted, restricted, or prohibited firearms. Okay. But yeah, there's no other reason under which you could legally carry a firearm on you, and that's my main concern. I'll put up another link here. The second link is to the collector's angle on things, and that should help with that. But yeah, in that lockdown period, it was rather humbling to realize that if it was a shooter, and they did come down that hallway to my tech room, that I would not be well equipped to defend myself. And looking at a law, like I'm going to bring up SB 11, Senate Bill 11. I think it was SB 11, Texas. Yeah, that was it. Texas campus carry. I quite liked the way that this legislation was put forward. I liked the way, I remember reading it all the way through. I did my report for it, like a video essay of sorts for this channel. And trying to see if I can find the actual text for it. It's unfortunate. Let's just say SB 11 PDF. There's got to be a PDF of this, right? Yeah, there is. Beautiful. And I'll put that in the bottom as well. So if anybody wants to see what I think an appropriate option would be for something like a concealed carry law in Canada, that'll be number 3, third link down. www.uh.edu/police/campus-carry/sb11.pdf. That should about do it for this little bit. Keep it under a half hour, nice and simple. This is to say that I think that Canada is going in a direction where it's been stated by the Islamic State that we are now one of their targets. They've mentioned Canada by name. There have been attacks claimed by ISIS on Canadian soil, specifically the attack at Parliament by Michael Zahaf-Bibo, and I think there was another one, although I don't know if they claimed it, but it was a radicalized Muslim who killed another constable. I can see the man's face. I can't see his name, but I recognize. I think he was in Quebec. I believe he was killed. He was run down with a vehicle. Starting to think that Canada is moving in a direction where the need to expand upon the individual's ability to defend themselves is going to be a requirement, where we're going to need to start making accommodations for those who wish to responsibly own and carry firearms. I don't know if I like the fact that Canada is changing in that way. I think if that's the case, it's unfortunate. But sometimes the world just doesn't care about what we think is nice, what we would like to have happen. The world's just going to be what the world is. So, folks, that's all I have for tonight. Let me know in the comments, because this stream will go up, of course. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about the idea of Canadians owning and carrying firearms. I know that might stir a rough patch for some people, but I just ask you all to keep a level head on it. So let me know what you think. Should Canadians be allowed to own and carry firearms? Should there be stipulations in place? Do you think the current laws are substantial? Think they're appropriate for the Canada that we all live in? And I'll see you all on the other side, folks. Have a good one.